Right, welcome to another marketing strategy session. Today I have Silvio on with me, and we're going to talk about something that y'all love to talk about so much, and that's lead generation. So we're going to talk about it in the form of Google and YouTube. Silvio, thanks for coming on the call.
Thanks for having me, Jeff. Happy to be here with the community.
Great. And, I know you've heard so many, myths and stories about how you should do Google ads and YouTube ads. And of course, Facebook ads. We've heard so many stories of all this lead generation.
Yeah.
And, I made my first million. Now, let me talk about my first million. I was on my brother's couch. I had nothing. And then all of a sudden, I found a secret.
Uh,
I started doing some ads, and within 3 months, I made my first million. And I haven't looked back since. Now, isn't that the story you hear all the time?
yeah, I was gonna say, Jeff, that's a great headline.
Yeah. And it's like, wait a minute, you went from sleeping homeless on somebody's
Yeah,
couch to millionaire overnight, and all you did was these three simple things.
right.
And it kills us for marketers that are out here doing it, and you're doing it for businesses, and they're buying into that story
Absolutely.
and
All
saying,
the time. All the time. I would say the number one killer of successful digital advertising campaigns, not just Google or YouTube in this case, but in general, is poor expectations.
yeah,
That is
yeah,
the number one killer.
yeah, because hey, if we're doing these ads, we should be seeing this revenue in this short period of time, and no testing, no
Yeah.
no analytic data,
Yeah.
no, and the biggest thing I've always found, no idea what your target audience is. A lot of times you'll ask them and they'll say, well, we want males that are in the United States that spend money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
how do we go after that without blowing your entire budget on people that have no interest?
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of targeting and how do we go about actually reaching our right market? Well, there are some tools that you can already use. If you already have Google Analytics on your website and it is set up properly, you can go into your audience report. And in
Okay.
the audience report, you can get a lot of information in terms of who is actually converting on your website already. So in your audience report, you can see, for example, who are those top ages, who are those top genders,
Okay.
and where are they from? Are they in the US? Are they abroad? Are they in your local town, depending on the business that you're in? So
Okay.
that's a great starting point where you can already leverage the data that you have.
Mhm.
And then aside from that, I would say if you're just like a new business, you're not really techie, you have Google Analytics on your website, but I haven't really touched it. I don't know. They just told me I need it. I'm not sure if it's actually doing anything.
Yeah.
I would say the best place to start is with your existing customers.
Okay.
I would do a little survey, just talk with them and see of all your customers, the 80-20 principle. What is the 20% of your customers that's generating you 80% of your revenue, and really focus in on what are the similarities and characteristics that they have. So
Mhm.
that way, when you go and approach an advertising campaign, you have kind of a leg up in terms of who you're trying to reach so that you can at least steer the boat in the right direction.
Okay. Now, when you're talking about that Google Analytics pixel, are you talking about just the general pixel, or are you digging in deep and setting up goals and events, and then pulling the data in from there?
Yeah, so in the beginning, it's just setting up the general Google Analytics pixel. That's how it starts. So you
Mhm.
put that on your website, and then it's going to start tracking everyone that comes. And then from there, you need to go in and set up your goals to track the main actions that are important to your business. So if you're a service-based business, people who call you, for example, and people who fill out your forms on your website.
Okay. Yeah, not to get too techy. In your admin section, you have that power, and you actually have a power that you can give Google some lookalikes, I'll say, and Facebook hopefully don't come after me for lookalikes, but you can actually put your audience into Google's system, and
Yeah.
they can start looking at what your ideal audience would be. So that's more advanced, but the power is there.
Yeah, it's insane with I say like Google Analytics is the sister and Google Ads is the brother.
Yeah.
They're a great relationship and they just get along. And sometimes they don't when conversions go off. That's the sister brother part. But in overall, with Google Analytics, you can get very advanced when you do have those goals set up. You can, for example, you can create a specific audience of people that not only have been to your website, but have been to your website for longer than a certain amount of time, and they've been to certain pages. So you can get really complex in terms of that tool.
Yeah, and that's great. Now, we're talking about Google Ads, and most people go into Google Ads ad first.
Yeah.
Now, what would be your recommendation? And I know mine, but what would be your recommendation of, you've got this audience, you're ready to do ads, what should you do first?
Set your goal. That's always step one for me, is decide on your goals. I always ask my clients, and I always ask people who are thinking about getting into Google Ads and stuff, I always ask them, what does success mean to you with your Google advertising campaigns?
Okay.
Specifically. So is that 10 leads a month? Is that 10 customers a month? What is it exactly for you? Because most of the times people kind of approach these advertising campaigns like, they just say things like, oh, I just want more leads, I want more sales. And as much as everybody wants more leads and more sales, it's not specific enough to realistically create a plan around it where you can actually have metrics and targets that you want to hit. So that way you can kind of know, is this boat going in the right direction, or do we have to adjust course?
Okay, now do you reverse engineer that? So let's say they say we want 10 new customers a month.
Yeah.
You're looking at their products or their offer, I would say. And you say, okay, their offer is X amount of dollars. You're looking at 10, that'll give you revenue of this. You should set aside this amount of budget because your existing conversion ratio may be, let's say, 10 to 1. So for every 10 people, you get 1. So that means you have to get 100 people. So in order to get 100 people, we have to get in front of 1,000 people. You
nailed it, Jeff. Yeah, absolutely. I always start with the end in mind. And I always tell people, for example, most of the businesses that I work with are in the service-based space. It's all about lead generation. So I usually always ask them, if I sent you, let's say 10 phone calls right now of your dream customer, what percentage would you say turn into an actual sale? And then from there, we'll know more or less their sales closing rate. Okay. Most business owners, and this is something that will fuel their advertising, they're not necessarily tracking the leads generated, and they're not even tracking their sales process of those leads that they are getting, how many are converting into a sale. But by knowing that number, that's going to allow you to have a more efficient and realistic budget so that you know what metrics you have to hit. I actually created a video on my YouTube channel on how to calculate your daily ad budget, where I go into 3 different methods on that small businesses can use to start and calculate a Google Ads budget. Okay. The third one is the goal calculation method, which we're talking about. And the most simplest one that I always tell people, if you just want to get started, is whatever your keyword is for your dream service, multiply it by 100, the estimated cost, and that'll be your starting budget. Okay. Because if you get at least 100 clicks and you can't convert one of those into a lead, that means it's not working. that's less than a 1% conversion rate.
Yes, and that's not good. That's definitely something to look at, readjusting everything. So that's great. Feel free to share that so I can put it into the notes so people can see that video and actually look at how you can calculate, because that's one of the hardest things is setting that expectation and saying, okay, realistically, without my super closer that's on vacation right now, I realistically can close this if I had the perfect people in. Because, honestly, you're not going to get the perfect people in all the time. Yeah. But getting that number, and it's really a numbers game, like sales. It's a numbers game.
Absolutely. It is all about the math when it comes to ads. And the way I see it is you're spending your hard-earned money, and advertising is a form of investment. So you want to make sure you're not only tracking that investment, but that you're doing the proper planning and research to set yourself up for the most probability of success possible.
Yes, definitely. Now, after you've gotten that information, the next thing to look at would be what?
Yeah, so number 1, we have the goals. Number 2 is to actually calculate the budget. So from there, the best place to start is to go into create a free Google Ads account. You go to ads.google.com, costs you nothing. and go ahead and create a free Google Ads account. Under the tools section, go to the keyword planner. And this is just a tool that Google has that allows you to get estimates for the different keywords that you want to bid on. So a keyword, for those of you who don't know, when you go into Google and you type in a word, the words that you typed is called a keyword. So those keywords, you can put them into the Google Keyword Planner. So if you're a local business and you're in Miami, like myself, you can go and put in Miami and it'll show you what are people searching in regards to the service keyword that you put and the estimated costs. So then, so then from there, you can take that cost data and then you can start to either at the simplest, just take that cost data, multiply by 100, you got your starting budget, or you can go a little bit more advanced and you can work your way backwards and to first calculate what your cost per lead would need to be. And then based on the closing rate and all that, which is a little bit more technical, but in the simplest, just go in there. And if you can see, like if it's saying, for example, I have a client that's in the personal injury space, they have keywords that cost a minimum of $100 a click on search. And it's insane to think that somebody be willing to pay $100 a click, but their lifetime value, meaning how much a client is worth to them, is in the thousands of dollars. So after you do all the math, it's worth it still to pay $100 a click because they're still making profit.
Yes. Wow. Well, when I'm in Miami, I'm searching for Cuban food. So
amen. I'm Cuban. White rice, black beans is what I grew up on.
They have the best, hands down. So that's what I'm searching for when I'm in Miami. But I don't know. But that's great technique. And there's actually some different type variables you can put into those keyword searches that helps narrow it down. So think of it like if you go way broad, you'll get in front of a lot of people, but you may want to narrow it down to people that are specific. So whenever I talk about it, I'm a car enthusiast, so I talk about cars. If you put in cars, yes, you'll get in front of millions.
Yeah.
But if you're looking to buy a car, if your customer is buying a car, they're most likely not going to say cars. They may put a certain brand, make, model of a car. Okay, that's great. But the best would be such and such car for sale. And even if they put a geo modifier for sale in Miami, that's ideal. And they may only have, let's say, 1,000 people, but there's 1,000 people that are very interested in what you have to offer.
Definitely. And in terms of the process, Jeff, that to really just nail it home for the listeners is to kind of reiterate. Step 1, decide on your goals. Step 2 is to calculate your starting budget. Step 3 is to design your campaign structure. So this is where you're going to decide at the campaign level. I always like to break out campaigns by first and foremost service, location, and device. So are you going to be promoting a specific type of implants if you're a dentist? Are you going to be doing it in Miami, for example? And is it going to be on mobile devices? So I like to break them out like that. And then from there, once you have your campaign structure, step 4 is to map out your ad groups. So this is where you're going to take all the different variations. It's insane how many ways people say the same thing and how they search for it. So when you go to the Google Ads Keyword Planner and you put in that service that you want to promote, you're going to see all these different variations of how people are saying it. And really, when it comes to Google Ads, the game you're playing is relevance. It's all about relevance, and how you win this game is with organization. So the better job you do at organizing your account and going through these steps, the more probability of success you'll have in the future.
Wow. Yeah. Very strategic.
Yeah. And then really once you map out your ad groups, the next step is to map out your keywords. And when I say map out your keywords, this is where you're going to decide on the specific keywords you're going to bid on. This is where you're going to decide on the match types, which is what you were talking about, Jeff. Match types are the modifiers that you put on your keywords to determine, I like to call them the guardrails that control how crazy Google can or can't be in terms of showing your ad.
Yes.
So if you don't put any match type and you just put the keyword in itself, that's called broad, you will show up for anything. If you put car something, as Jeff was saying, you'll show up for anything, Hondas, Toyotas, it doesn't matter, you're going to show up. And for the most part, you don't want that because you want to show up for the right searches at the right time. So using those match types is going to allow you to really regulate the searches you are showing up for. And then also when it comes to mapping out your keywords, more importantly than the positive keywords, those are the things you want to show up for. You want to really focus in on the negative keywords. And I always like,
free.
Yeah, block free, Jeff, block free. And block free, a pro tip for everyone is if you go to Google and you just search negative keyword lists, there's templates out there that you can literally just copy and paste, review it. But there's templates of, for example, like all the states in the United States, for example, all of the bargain keywords, free, cheap, inexpensive, all that stuff, that you can take that and then you can go into your Google Ads account and just paste it in, and now you're not going to show up for that stuff. Yes. So again, to reiterate, when it comes to mapping out your keywords, the positive keywords, the ones you want to show up for, the negative keywords, the ones you don't want to show up for, and the match types, the things that you want to regulate how your keywords go about showing.
Yes,
and then
because what you don't know will cost you.
I actually got my start with Google advertising with my own business. And when I was in college, I had a DJ business and I was doing it with my cousin on the side, and it was awesome. And I'll never forget the first party that I got from Google Ads. It was actually a kid's Halloween party. And I'll never forget the first time I realized the importance of negative keywords, because I was showing up for things around DJ, but I didn't block DJ Khaled. And DJ Khaled came into town and he took $100 from my campaign.
Wow.
So negative keywords are important.
Yes. And he's huge in Miami. I remember the last time I went down to Miami, it was like, that's all they played, him and Pitbull. That's all they did, like huge in Miami.
Yep, absolutely. Wow. And then once you have your keywords, that's step 5. Step 6 is to create your ads and your extensions. Okay. So creating your ads itself, and then the extensions are exactly what it sounds like. They're additional pieces of information that you can add to your ads. I always say use as many as possible. Okay. They don't cost you anything. They make your ads bigger. They're more likely to get clicked on. The more your ads get clicked on, the higher your quality score will be, meaning the less you'll pay per click, and it's just good things will come from it. And then lastly, step 7 is set up your conversion tracking and launch. I mean, you can, if you don't have conversion tracking, you could have the Yoda of Google Ads managing your account, but they won't even be able to do anything for you if they don't have that conversion tracking to be able to know it's working.
Yeah, dig into that a little bit, because that's something that a lot of businesses miss. They don't put the conversion pixel on. They don't know how to set up their conversion pixel. And they miss a big opportunity. First of all, like you said, they don't know what's really working, what's not. And second of all, there's no real way to retarget after that. I mean, you're just one shot.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to tracking, the main thing is it all starts with the pixel. Mm-hmm. If it's Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, anything, any platform, TikTok, it starts with the pixel. You want to first have the pixel on your website, because that's how the ad platform knows what's going on your website. Yeah. So you need to have the pixel. That's step 1. You go into the account, you create a free account. They has a bunch of code there. The easiest way in terms of setting up the pixel that I like to do is Google Tag Manager. Okay. I'll just do it through Google Tag Manager, and it's as seamless as possible in terms of all the code. Mm-hmm. Once you have the pixel, the next thing you need to do is you need to set up the conversion tracking for the specific events that you want to track. Okay. So we have the pixel. It's kind of on the top. It's tracking everything. It's the brain, if you will. It's looking at everything. Now we need to tell that pixel what I want you to look out for. So from there, we set up the specific conversion tracking to track what are the mechanisms that drive growth in your business. So if you're a service-based business, that's usually phone calls and that's form submissions. So we want to make sure that we set it up so we know that. Okay.
So now they're set up. They're ready to track. Now, like you said, there's so many different ways you can advertise in Google Ads. I mean, there's phone call only. There's Gmail. There's so many different ways. How do you cut through that clutter of I guess you would say, options?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jeff. In terms of how do you cut through all the clutter, right? Because with Google, you have, like you said, search, you have Gmail, you have display, you have YouTube. It's massive. Google owns YouTube, for everyone that doesn't know. So YouTube ads, you do in your Google Ads account. Yes. And I always like to say, start with the lowest hanging fruit possible. Okay. The reason why Google search is so appealing, and usually where I like to start people off is because of that intention. They're looking exactly for what it is that you do in the location that you set it to be done. So if you're a local business, there's nothing more powerful than someone searching for exactly what you have to offer within driving distance of your business. So I always start with the lowest hanging fruit possible. Google search is usually my number one start. And then from there, what happens is, and this is a good problem, is you maximize the impressions available, meaning the visibility available for Google search. And then that's where we have to start to broaden out to get more awareness and expand outside of search so that people know of us.
Okay. And that's when you go to the other avenues like display and so forth.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Quick little story tip. Monitor your ads often. I remember one time I had a client and I turned on, luckily they had use or lose budget. So this is not for the small businesses. This was more of a corporation. It was the end of the year. They had use or lose money. So they were just trying to lose it anyway. But turned on YouTube ads, let it run for the weekend. Didn't look at it until Monday. Went through $6,000 in 2 days. Oh, luckily, it was use or lose money, but
yeah,
$6,000 in 2 days from a Friday evening to a Monday morning. So monitor or set certain parameters in place because you can go through your budget quickly if you don't pay attention to it.
That's a great point, Jeff. At the minimum, what the listeners can do to really protect themselves in terms of their budget, because that is definitely a scare factor in terms of advertising, is I don't want to spend $6,000 in a couple of days when I didn't mean to. One is you can set your daily budget at the campaign level. So for example, if you only want to spend a certain amount of money, divide that by 30.4 and you'll get your daily budget. Okay. And that's at the minimum. And then in terms of more regulation, because sometimes campaigns, for example, Google can spend 20% more on certain days of than your daily spend, is in your Google Ads account, you can create an automated rule, which it's essentially if your account gets across a certain amount of spend, so whatever it is, your monthly budget, pause campaigns.
Okay.
And that's running for you consistently. So it's always checking. And then you can also do that with a Google Ads script as well to do the same thing.
Okay.
But that's a little bit more advanced.
Yeah. I've seen scripts. I haven't touched scripts. that's even above my pay grade. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to touch the scripts. Now, so you mentioned that YouTube is a property of Google, and we're looking at now YouTube ads, and of course, like all other ad platforms, everybody says that YouTube ads is the next best thing. You can, be successful overnight with YouTube ads. Just put up a video. So what are some of the best practices when it comes to YouTube ads?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jeff. In terms of YouTube ads, it's not a miracle pill. First and foremost, just like, everyone says with all these other things, yes, there's a lot of advantages to YouTube ads. And yes, YouTube ads is a blue ocean in terms of opportunity and the prices. For example, with YouTube ads, you can get views for as low as 5 cents a view.
Okay.
So there's a lot of opportunity in terms of getting in front of the right people. In terms of best practices with YouTube ads, the main thing is you want to make sure that you're calling out to the viewer what it is that you intend with this ad. So with YouTube, it's interruption-based marketing. And with YouTube, there's a couple different ads you can run. The one that we all see and kind of know, and some of us get annoyed by, is the in-stream ads. And the in-stream ads are the ones that you have to wait 5 seconds before you can skip them.
Yeah.
But with those ads, a lot of things that people don't realize is, they'll see that ad and they'll tell me like, oh, Silvio, why would I want to run that? I skip those things all the time. How are they making any money? What they don't realize is if you skip that ad at 5 seconds, that advertiser doesn't pay anything. So it's called what is known as a true view ad, meaning you're only going to pay when somebody actually views the ad. And depending on the length, it varies, but it's usually greater than 15 seconds where you're going to actually have to pay for that view.
Okay. So it's not 5 seconds and then you pay. It's more like after 5 seconds, or let's say 10 seconds, and then all of a sudden you get charged for this ad. So it's free advertisement.
Correct. Brand awareness is like just kind of like a cherry on the top in terms of YouTube ads. And really, in terms of the best practice, the first thing you want to do is you want to call out to the viewer what it is they can expect from this ad. And if they're not part of that, tell them to skip. So for example, you say, like, if I'm going to do an ad on a Google Ads webinar, hey, if you're interested in learning Google Ads, then I have a free webinar coming up that I would love to invite you to. But hey, if you don't like Google Ads and you don't want to hear me, go ahead and click that skip button down below right now. And you want to do that because you don't want to pay for people who don't want to pay attention.
You need to do my ad. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense right there. You know, because, hey, you don't want to pay for people that don't want to pay for you. So
exactly. That's definitely right. And in terms of YouTube ads, Jeff, in terms of best practices, the main goal with the YouTube ads is really two things. Number one is you want to have the highest possible click-through rate, meaning you want as many people possible to actually click from your ad to your landing page to do whatever action is you want them to do. And the second thing is you want as high as possible conversion rate on that landing page. So ideally, in terms of benchmarks, I always try to shoot for at least a 1% or greater YouTube ads click-through rate, meaning of the people who view, they actually go and they click through to the page. That's usually the benchmark I'm trying to shoot for. And in terms of things that really help to get people to click through is to follow a format in your ad. So you just go to Google and you search YouTube ad script. There's a ton of different scripts out there to help you structure the way you create that video to really get it as much engagement as possible. And the format that I always like to follow is the edutainment format, meaning it's an ad that you're gonna entertain and you're gonna educate. So you're gonna give them some sort of value, and then you're gonna tell them, hey, if you want the rest, click through. Yeah. And then the actual video itself, something that helps really as well, that I found helps a lot, is adding animations pointing down to the button, telling them in 5 seconds, you're going to click. So it's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, a countdown and an arrow so they can click through. Because the main thing, again, is you want to have people click through as much as possible and then convert on the other side.
That's a good technique. I've never thought about having that call to action animation to say, hey, you know, click this now. If you're interested, go ahead and click it now.
Exactly.
Listen to the whole video. Click now and find out more. Oh, that's a great technique. So with the YouTube ads, and without spending $6,000 in unmonitored advertisement, you mentioned the in-stream. Now the second one would be which type of advertisement?
Yeah. So in terms of YouTube ads, I usually always like to just go with in-stream in terms of conversion. There's another ad that you can do, which is called discovery, which is basically where it's almost like you see the thumbnail of the video on the search. Usually in my experience, the one that I have the most success with in terms of direct response, meaning ad to event that you want them to do, is usually in-stream. The discovery one I found is really good in terms of growing a YouTube channel, and you want to build your YouTube channel and you want to show up on those different searches and you want to promote the thumbnail of the video, because it's a little bit more organic in the sense that even though you're paying for that placement, I, as the viewer, choose to click on it to watch your video.
Okay. So this is more for building loyalty, where the in-stream is more for building, I guess you'd say, conversions.
Yeah.
Or for conversions.
That's definitely been my experience.
Okay. Cool. Now, have you seen the type of videos? Like you mentioned, it was entertainment and educational and informative, but like ones that look like they're shot from your phone versus ones that are well polished and produced. You know, have you found certain type of videos to work better?
Yeah, I always, in my experience, the ones for YouTube, it's strange because on Facebook, I would tell you the iPhone videos do way better. But for some reason with YouTube, the nice polished videos that have a production quality do work better in terms of the tests that I've ran, but in a way that they don't come off as corporate and robotic. If it's
Okay.
like kind of like a fun, polished video and they have like actors and they're like, I saw this one about manscaping and it was pretty cool. Something
Mhm.
like that does work, but you don't need all that to get started. You really don't. It's marginal in terms of what we're talking about here.
Okay.
Just getting started with an iPhone and having a decent background and following a script is really all you need to just start getting in front of your dream customer.
Okay. Okay. That's helpful. That's helpful to know versus we need to get a full production crew to come
Right,
out
right. Yeah,
and
it's
film.
definitely not, we have it very good in the sense of the production quality required now is not as high as back in the day, because now what people want more than anything is authenticity.
Yes.
So if they
Yeah.
see you with your iPhone, and I would say this too, there's nothing wrong with being congruent with where you are in your business. If
Okay.
you in your business right now, an iPhone is the most you can do, there's nothing wrong with that. And then you just share that on the camera and say, hey, here I am on my iPhone. I know, looks crazy, right? But I believe in what I have to say so much. And I have this training coming up and I want you to be there. If you're suffering from da 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 da, go ahead and click that button and I want you on this training. And,
Okay.
you can really come off as more congruent that way, instead of a whole production squad and then you're there off a teleprompter and they can barely see your eyes looking at the camera.
That's so true. That's so true. It's so hard to work when it comes to that uh, well-produced video. It's a lot of work involved.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. I have a little mini setup back here and it's already work enough, putting up the camera and everything and the lights. Yeah, definitely.
yep, and the green screen that you got to roll out. Yes, yes. I was thinking about turning a whole room into just a green screen room, and in the studio we have that. But I was thinking of maybe at the house, instead of having this type of background, to say, okay, well, make one room and it's just green screen, and
Yeah.
it helps because that takes at least 30 minutes of your time just setting everything up before you start
Yeah.
shooting.
No, absolutely. That's definitely a goal for mine in the future as well. Just go in there and turn on the camera button to record and that's it.
Exactly, exactly. Now you were talking about how you sending them to a landing page,
Mhm.
like for instance a webinar, or you're sending them to a well converting landing page. Um, how have you like leveraged these landing pages? And then I'm leading you right now, but how do you leverage these landing pages into retargeting if they don't actually take action on the landing page?
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of how do I leverage landing pages, the landing page itself mirrors the ad. So for example, if in the ad you're talking about, in the case of YouTube, there's not a word they see. For example, like in a Google ad, they see just the text.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the landing page, you want the text that was in your ad, for example, to mirror the landing page. That's what they call message match. In terms
Okay.
of YouTube, you're calling it out. So whatever that training is about, when they go to that landing page, you want to make sure the first thing they see is front and center, the big headline, that they're in the right spot for exactly what they want.
Okay.
And then in terms of the landing page itself, really, you can keep it really simple, just a simple squeeze page, name and email. There's a lot of templates online that you can buy that are extremely inexpensive and that you can
Yeah.
just get started with that. And then in terms of the remarketing, now that you have the pixel on your landing page, you
Mm-hmm.
can set up two audiences. One are the people that when they put in the name and email and they were sent to the thank you page, you now have that audience of all the people that went to the thank you page. And then you
Okay.
also have an audience of all the people that have been to that landing page, let's say in the last 28 days.
Okay.
So then from there, in your campaign, in your actual YouTube ads campaign, in your audience targeting in the audience section, you can go to exclusions. And in the exclusion section, you'll put that audience of everyone that in the last 28 days became a lead. So that way now you're no longer showing your ads to people you have no business showing the ads to. And then that way, these people you're showing the ads to, your remarketing ad, these are the
Mm-hmm.
ones that have been to the page in X amount of time and they have not become a lead.
Okay. Okay. And that makes sense. Now, with your landing page, do you basically duplicate the same video that you did for the ad on the landing page, or is it part two of that particular video?
Yeah, as simple as can be, you can literally just take the same video and put it on the landing page just to get started. But I usually like to do a part 2, just saying like, hey, thanks so much. You're in the right spot. You know, go ahead and click. And a lot of times too, you don't even need a video. You just need a headline and a form, because the video, and that's one of the advantages of YouTube, is since you're on camera, it's so much easier to influence and to build trust.
Yes. Yes. Because you're seeing a person and it's personal versus just text. I don't know who you are.
Exactly.
You know, yeah, that makes sense. Now, I'm all out of questions. I mean, honestly, you covered a lot. And,
My pleasure.
I want those that are more interested in taking the next step to do it properly. Sometimes it's good to learn and do, but really to scale business and to be successful, it's better to have a working knowledge and then hire somebody that's an expert in it. That's really what I found to be the best. Have a working knowledge so you know what right looks like. And then hire an expert out there that knows what they're doing, that likes doing it, that does it every day to manage it. And you just know if they're doing it correctly.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So the question now would be, if somebody is ready to take that next step, how can they get in contact with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So if anyone here is looking to outsource their digital advertising and they need leads, I specialize in digital advertising lead generation. You can go to my website, adconversion.io. And on there, I have a video that walks you through my process. And then from there, you can just book a time on my calendar. And I'd be more than happy to learn more about your business and see if we'd be a good fit.
Cool. Yeah. Like I said, I'm a firm believer in you get experts to do what they do, and you just know what it should look like. You be the visionary.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to know enough to be able to delegate and to make sure your money is going to a good place.
Yes. Because so often we're like, I just do it myself. And then it's a lot of work. Ads are a lot of work. I'm going to be honest with you. So, but you've given a lot of information. There's so many other things we can get into and dive into. And I'm holding back my geek. I'm holding back my geek because I'm like, let's tell them about this. But I know that that's a little more advanced than probably where they need to be right now. Getting started. So the key takeaways have always amazed me of how simple they are. Like you stated, know what your goal is, know what your budget's going to be, know how you want to approach the ads, and then put together a strategy around that and not get so caught up in the technology of it all.
Absolutely. That's one of my, and I'm guilty of that, because just like you, Jeff, I geek about this stuff all the time. And I drive my friends crazy. They're like, just stop talking about it, you know? And one of the biggest traps that I fell into and that I always try to warn people about is we confuse the tools with our business. Our business comes first, and the tools are there to support the business to get to the business objectives. That's why I always start every campaign with your goals, the budget, and then from there, it's platform specific.
And that makes sense. I actually did a long time ago a post about do you or Google own your business? And this was back when I was doing SEO heavy. Because everybody was so focused on ranking in SEO that they missed the actual goal. And it was like, okay, so you rank, but you're not converting any customers. You're not getting any customers, but you rank. I mean, because I was in so many meetings and the only thing that they would ask was, where are we ranking on Google? And I was like, yeah, you rank, but none of these terms are converting. You're not making any money, but you're ranking. And so we focus on, we need to rank in Google. We need to do these type of ads. We need to run this type. We need to be on Snapchat, TikTok, only because we want a presence, but we are not tying it into a goal. We're not tying it into a bottom line.
Amen. It's like the vanity thing. Oh, I want to be cool. I have Facebook ads, so I just want to be cool because I have Facebook ads. It's absolutely. The thing is too, clients always come to me, they're like, oh, how do I reduce my cost per click? And I do a lot of things to make sure that we can reduce the cost as much as possible. But like I always tell them, it's supply and demand. And as these platforms get more and more competitive over the years, even if you're doing all the best practices, prices will rise.
Yeah.
So by only focusing all your time and attention on the advertising side of things and reducing the cost per click, the biggest gains for any business are on the back end, increasing the lifetime value of your customer, increasing the transaction size, increasing the frequency of purchase, increasing the partnerships that you have. Can you get kickbacks for certain things? You know, really just maximizing every single customer that you get and optimizing your sales process. So
Yeah.
whether or not it costs you $100 a lead or $1,000 a lead, you know where you stand in terms of that acquisition.
And that makes a lot of sense. Like you said, with your current client, it's $100 per lead, but they're making $1,000 or more per actual lifetime for that particular customer. It makes sense. They're 10xing, for every $100, we're going to get 1,000. Well, that's a
Exactly.
win. I mean, that's really a win. And if you're focused on the $100, you'll never get the 1,000.
Definitely. And if you truly want to scale advertising, the biggest companies in the world, most of them, like, I'll give you an example with McDonald's. If you go to McDonald's, you go in the drive-thru and you just buy a Happy Meal, they're losing money. But where they make money is when they sell you the Oreo McFlurry, the extra fries, the larger Coke, et cetera, et cetera. So you need to have ways to maximize that customer when they come into your business, so that now you, as the business owner first, when you go to Facebook ads or Google ads and all your competitors are so focused on making profit on that first sale, hey, every customer worth to me in 6 months is X amount of money. As long as I don't go over that, and I know I'm good.
Yeah.
And you can spend infinitely more than them.
Yes. Yes. And if you're capturing them when you bring them in from the lead, then it's not a loss, because you can always go back out to them. That's the power of the internet. That's the power of digital marketing versus old traditional linear marketing, where it was just, you just push marketing in front of them. If they don't purchase, you lost that. Now, if you capture the lead, you're still in the game.
That's right. That's right. You have their contact information. Now you can follow up them with emails. You can take those emails, put it into the advertising platforms and say, hey, Facebook, go find me more of the people like this. Hey, Google, go find me more people like this. And it's insane, the power we have.
Exactly. And the more they see you, the more that they trust you. And that's the key to it.
Yep. Influence.
Yes. So the last part of the show, we always want to do a good, bad, and ugly, and an aha moment if you have it. So what's the good, bad, and ugly when it comes to Google ads and YouTube ads? I keep wanting to say Facebook ads, but it's because so many people are talking about Facebook ads right now.
Yeah. The good, bad, and ugly. I would say the good of Google ads and YouTube ads is the ability to target people when they're actively researching for what it is you want. One of the things we didn't talk about, but in terms of targeting for YouTube, you can actually target people who are actively searching for what it is you want on Google. And then when they go to YouTube, you can show them ads. That's called custom intent. So I would say that is the good in terms of Google ads and YouTube ads, is that ability to target people. The bad is, especially with Google ads, can be visibility. So for example, depending on the size of your business, if you're local or not, the problem with Google ads is you can really maximize that pond pretty quickly. And then you need to start to branch out. And then I would say the most ugly thing of it all is just going in there, not having tracking set up and blowing, your budget in a couple days.
Yeah.
And not doing the proper work.
Yes, definitely. That's a good one. And one of the ones we didn't talk about is the 3-pack, the map, the ads in the map area. That's another opportunity out there that a lot of local businesses don't utilize.
Yeah, absolutely. You can reach people on the maps, on search, when they're watching YouTube videos, on the display network, when they're on Fox, CNN, all these, large websites. Your local weather station usually works really well too in terms of conversion that I found. You just show up right there. People are checking the weather and they see your ad. I found a lot of success with that one. Absolutely. A lot of advantages in terms of Google ads, but at the end of the day, it can get complicated quick, and it kind of goes back to decide on your goals, create your budget, focus on your highest value services. If you offer 10 things, maybe just focus on 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
That way you can consolidate the budget. And then from there, you know, go at it and test. Keep testing, keep trying new things. And eventually, as long as you know more or less what success means to you and you can start to manipulate the numbers, you'll find that success you're looking for.
Cool. Well, everybody, hopefully you've learned just as much as I have, and you are ready to go ahead and dive into some advertisement with Google and YouTube. Thanks, Silvio, for sharing so much great information. If y'all are looking to grow your business and you want help, feel free to reach out. You know, he's there to help. Also, any questions, any comments, put it into the comment area, and we'll look at getting the answer for you, or finding some way to, you know, give you a resource that knows that particular one, because we don't claim to know everything. But yes, thank you so much, everybody, for being on the show, and we wish you the best of success.
Take care.